Welcome to The Right Advice. I'm Randy.
And I'm Amber.
And I'm Lucy.
And today we are here to answer your questions that you sent to us about The Last of Us. So let's take a look at our first question. It comes from NM362077. I'm a fan of the thematic songs during credits. For example, episode 4 had True Faith by Lottie Kestner playing during the end credits. If you had to pick a theme song to sum up the series so far, what would you choose? I know what I'd choose, actually.
No, then you should say, because I don't know what I'd choose.
It's the end of the world as we know it. It'd be that one.
Oh, yeah.
It would have to be that one. I'm not really a big fan of pop culture songs in movies, but it kind of works here. Because
that's REM, right?
I have no idea.
Okay, I
Probably.
believe that's REM.
It's a classic, though.
All right, Lucy, do you have one?
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't really know titles of songs very well.
I'm the same. I just know the melodies.
Yeah, I know some lyrics. I know melodies. I don't really know song titles or artists.
I feel like Metallica would have been good for this show, too. I don't know why. I like Metallica. What can I say?
I don't know that I have one. I should have been thinking about that. That's a question that's been out there for a while. I would pick something on the sad side and that talks about being alone. So
I think there's a lot of songs like that.
There's a lot of songs like that. So I'm not sure which one that would be.
Take your pick.
Take your pick.
Do you think you'd pick something like older, something that you know it's going to stand the test of time because it already has, or would you pick something that's current?
I'd pick something that's current, and I'm not as well versed on the current songs, so that's kind of where I'm having problems with. Is I would want something fairly reasonably close. I'd say within the last 5 years. And I do know some of the songs and some of the artists, but I'm drawing a blank right at the moment.
I think I would pick something that's older, just because we know that culture basically stopped at 2003. So maybe something from the early 2000s.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so it'd be like the last remnants of when things were great.
Hold on, what was the last song released before, what was it, October 7th,
Something
September
like that.
22nd or whatever?
I'll Google it. I'll Google the date, and I'll put it right above Lucy's head. So that was one of the last songs released. I mean, I'm sure there's probably a million, but I'll just pick the one I like the most and tell you that's what it is.
That's their song.
Okay, Thriller by Michael Jackson.
Nice. Okay, that's perfect. That would be the theme song for The Infected whenever they're coming out.
The Infected are coming out. We play that. Yeah. And then Joel comes out.
Like
we
that,
get that
scene in episode 2 when the fungi wakes up that horde of zombies and
They just like slowly get up and start.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with that one. I know that's not new, but that's what came to mind while I was trying to think of something on the fly. And that's what I'm going to go with.
Nice. We good?
yeah.
Okay. The next one comes to us from DJ Travels. So far, I dislike the show. That's all he wanted to say. Well,
Thank you. Thank you.
Very sorry that you dislike the show, but glad you're watching our reviews.
And so far, I like you.
We like you too. Isn't that we're like Mr. Rogers, and
Yeah.
I like you. Next is from, it's our old friend, GeekyOlHog.
Yeah.
GeekyOlHog wants to know, why did the character of Kathleen not work? Why create a character like this to, quote unquote, add to the story if it won't resonate beyond the 2 episodes it's in? That's kind of 2 questions. So how about, why didn't she work?
I think we discussed this a little bit on the show, but she appears weak. She is a villain. And specifically, she's a villain who leads ruthless cutthroats. And in order to get their respect, you can't look like a soccer mom, in my opinion. I mean,
or act like one.
Right. I mean, so, I used to be a carpenter, and they're not ruthless cutthroats, but, you get a soccer mom come onto the construction site. Yeah, none of them are going to do anything that she says. They're just going to ask her to leave and leave them alone. And so this is an even worse environment, and she doesn't seem ruthless. And what would be? I mean, what is she going to do if they don't obey? Is she going to like be snarky with them? I mean, these are not people who are going to be worried that like, oh my gosh, Kathleen won't approve of what we did. So for me, that's why it doesn't work. It's not believable that those kinds of people would respect her or be fearful of her and thus follow her.
Yeah. I think that if she was in a classroom or in a small business where she's in a position of power and everybody else is in a position of no power, her attitude and her passive aggressive, little needling is effective, because you can't really fire back at her, because you'll get fired, or the principal will call your mom and dad. But like Randy said, when you're leading a bunch of very powerful warrior types, a passive aggression isn't going to get you far. And honestly, she's had some really bad ideas that I think that these other guys would look at and say, why are we doing what she says? So, yeah. What do you think, Lucy?
I'm not the writer. You guys are the writers, so
Okay.
I have not.
If ideas come to you, go ahead and just say them, whatever you want. Because, you have a good perspective. If there's characters in the show that you felt were weaker than in the game, and in this case, I know Kathleen wasn't, but, there may be people you can compare and stuff. So, okay, next is from another friend of ours, Atomic Age Pictures. Atomic Age Pictures asks, is that second generation D&D on the shelf behind you? Bagler?
Yes, it is. And I got first edition somewhere, but not in here. I have a box set from first edition hidden away somewhere. So I have all of the editions. I don't have third. I actually waited until 3.5 came out, and I picked up 3.5. And then I did not pick up 4. And anyone who plays D&D, you know why I didn't pick up 4. So
Insider information. Yeah. They know. If you know, you know, as they say.
Right.
Nice. We didn't answer the second part of GeekyOlHog. I just realized.
Yes, Hog will be quite upset if we don't get the second question.
Why create a character like this to quote unquote add to the story if it won't resonate beyond 2 episodes it's in?
Well, because I think it was a mistake to have this character portrayed the way it was. Mm-hmm. It becomes, in my mind, a mute question. It wasn't effective. I don't know why they do it. It was a mistake on their part, and I don't know why they would make a mistake.
Yeah, I think that really the most important character in this was Sam and Henry, and that what happened to them has created an ongoing consequence with Joel and Ellie, because we see him bring it up in the episode that just came out, episode 6. He said he felt like he was helpless to help Ellie when she was being attacked by Sam when Sam had turned. So.
Okay, but I think this is what I would do if I was stuck with that character. Whatever, the producers, the show creators are like, Randy, you need to write this character. It needs to be the leader, and it needs to be believable. She plays on her warriors. It's an appeal to humanity, right? And then we still see that she's nasty and she doesn't really follow that. So it's totally a fake appeal, right? I mean, she's doing that and they're buying into it. But when they're not around, we see that she's a hypocrite. I totally would have done that. I think it would have been reasonably believable and at least interesting enough that people were like, okay, that's kind of cool what you're doing there. I'll let it slide that it's not completely believable, right? But that appeal, like, what would your mother think? But to get more serious about it than that, that's just me throwing something really quick off the top of my head. But that's how I would have run her. Appeal to humanity, because that's why they overthrew the previous regime, was they were not humane, right? But then, you can't go around just shooting the doctor because, you guys are being humane and everything. So there's a lot of inconsistencies. But I think that would have been a really deliciously wicked character and perfect for that scene. So, maybe next season they'll hire me and I'll fix some of those problems if they have any.
I would have liked that. I would have liked that being what she was. And I also would have still needed some reason for why they're all really following her from the start. But she would have been more,
I would have given her a reason.
Yeah. A brilliant idea. She had a brilliant idea, and everybody was blown away by her brilliant idea of how to overthrow Fedra. That would have done it. Sucked at Baby Boo 2 wants to know, what do you think of the writing of Stephen King? Have you always appreciated his writing, or do you think he has always been a hack? There's an assumption in that question.
Yeah, I'm not going to go with that assumption. And I'll say this. I don't particularly care for Stephen King's writing. Now, when they've adapted his stuff into movies, I love the movies. I mean, so he comes up with some really great ideas. So he's a super idea guy. And he writes books on writing. And those books are excellent. So he does understand the craft of writing.
So if he read his own stuff, maybe...
Maybe he would write it differently.
I haven't read his stuff, so I can't say. But reading between the lines...
I'm not trying to condemn the man. The man makes a ton of money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so obviously he appeals to many, many, many people. I don't care for his writing. That doesn't mean it's bad. So if you think he's a hack, then, I'm probably closer to your opinion than I am the vast majority of people who really love him. And his ideas are great. I mean, Pet Sematary, Thinner. What else did he do?
Carrie.
I mean, these are great ideas. And his writing isn't bad. I mean, it's not like you read and like, oh my gosh, this guy needs to learn how to punctuate and use semicolons and everything. No, I mean, he's got a good writing style. I just don't care for it that much.
Yeah, I think horror is not really my thing, and he does so much horror that I don't read often his works. I had to read several for school, but I would say my favorite of his is The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, and that stuck with me because my family has a cabin out in the woods, and
A cabin in the woods?
My family, I would often play alone out in the forest and get totally creeped out by the forest where you feel like it's alive and it's coming after you. So that story I really loved. I felt like he captured that really well. But as far as has he always been a hack? I mean, he clearly is doing a good enough job that people are willing to make him very, very wealthy, continuing to tell his stories. So I wouldn't call him a hack, but maybe just that he's created an assembly line of storytelling. He knows how to write a story and he just spits them out very quickly. I think you're going to find similar themes in a lot of his works, but he's got a few good standouts here and there for sure.
Well, you get that in romance, and I know we're talking completely different, but Stephen King has obviously found his niche where he's got, I would say, kind of formulaic. I mean, I'm not saying every story that he writes is the same, but he has a process in his mind where that process is laid out, and he can okay, here's the premise, and then I put it to my process, and I crank out these books. And so I see that, and in romance you see that, because really romance, they're so structured, and
Nicholas Sparks.
You have to, the boy and the girl have to kiss. I mean, whoever, the love interests have to kiss by this page, and this needs to happen. And so it's not that kind of writing. They can definitely crank out on a faster pace because a lot of the creativity is structured, and you just kind of change the dressings of it. It's a hairdresser and a gardener, or this time it's a ship maker and a lawyer. I mean, whatever, right? You just change all those little things around. One's in New England, one's in California, and then kind of basically the same story. And then you move forward. So I feel that Stephen King, even though they're not the same story, the process is the same, and how he gets through that story is the same. And so he's able to kind of crank them out if he wants to. Of course, he has so much money now, he does not need to do that.
Have you ever seen the Family Guy spoof of how Stephen King comes up with, or how he pitches his stories?
No.
I might stick it in here in a card, but it's pretty funny. He's pitching his next idea, and he doesn't have one, but he just sits there. He's like, it's about a lamp, and it's alive, it's haunted. And they're like, you really aren't, you're out of ideas now, aren't you? And then he goes, we'll give you $3 million.
Oh yeah, but here's the truth of it. So this is how Stephen King pitches. I'm going to write a book.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll give you $1 million for it. Boom, it's sold. Right? Stephen King doesn't have to pitch. He just needs to let them know he will write another book, and if they want it, they have to pay him up front.
Yeah, at this point, he's like a brand, sort of.
His name is his pitch.
It's like Prada, Prada is going to have shoes and purses and I don't know what else they make, and people will pay a huge, exorbitant amounts of money for something that they could get almost identical somewhere else for like $10. So, we're in?
We're good.
All right, next.
I like the lamp story, though. I hope he writes that one.
That would be a creepy one.
It's the Pixar lamp come to life.
Oh, that would be better lamp for sure. Yeah.
The one that
I mean, he
bends
already
and
killed the. It already killed the eye.
the
Is
eye.
that
It kills the eye.
letter he
Yeah,
jumps on
squashes
top
it
of.
to death. Poor thing.
See, there we go. We already got
It's
a
already a
storyline
murderer.
for it. Yeah.
Serial killer desk lamp. All right. Ano Zalia, I think that's how you say it, asks, why was the electric fence still operational when Joel and Ellie got to Bill's compound? Surely the generator would have run out of fuel. Yeah, minor detail, but it bugs me.
So I'll take a step about that. First of all, we don't know how long Bill and Frank have been dead. They might be dead as little as a couple of days. And definitely there are larger generators. And Frank, they showed the generator. Frank's got a large generator that might be able to run for multiple days, maybe a week, maybe longer. I don't really know the statistics for the generators, but I do know that definitely for as little as they're only doing their house, they're only providing power for their house, I believe. Yeah, that could last easily a couple days, maybe up to a week. So I don't know that that's unbelievable. We just have to assume that Ellie and Joel showed up reasonably close to the time of their death.
I think it was also implied that he has hooked it up to the gas lines. So if you'll remember that one of the first things he does when the power goes out, so he's at Home Depot and the lights go out and he goes, well, that was sooner than I thought. And then he goes to the gas, basically the neighborhood gas providing place, whatever.
Utility.
Yeah, and he turns it back on, which I thought was brilliant. I was like, oh, he's so smart. And then they later show him using gas and then starting up the generator. And so I was sort of thinking he probably has it hooked up. And because there's only one house, this gas supply used to supply a whole town, but now it's only supplying one house. So it probably has gas for years in there.
Yeah, that's what I'd guess too.
Yeah. So that generator could have gone forever. I mean, when they're well maintained, they do go on for a long, long time, especially the older ones. Why does new stuff not last? I don't know.
Because it's cheaper.
Because it's made cheaper so people will buy more.
Yeah. Or it has computer chips and things in it, so you can't actually repair it yourself. It's like, oh, the software is outdated now, so, the hardware can't keep up with it or whatever. And like, what? Anyway. I really don't like how computers are taking over everything. We're going to have Skylab happen or whatever it is,
Skylab.
Yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. You seen the things happening with AI lately? Sorry. Let's not get into conspiracy theories and end of the world scenarios.
But this is what this show is all about.
This is true. You should be thinking about these things then. All right. Let's see. Oh.
Okay, so that does kind of remind me of something.
Oh, okay.
So there's this horrible movie based on a Stephen King novel, I believe. Oh, what is that called? It's got Emilio Estevez is in it. And there's a space alien thing that infuses its essence into all the machinery and they attack everyone.
All the machines attack everybody?
Yeah. And there's
That's fantastic.
There's a hilarious scene where one inhabits a soda machine and it spits out cans of soda and kills a person. I mean, let's ignore no, he couldn't.
Imagine.
Because there's no moving parts that would make a can shoot out from a soda machine. You have to reach in and grab it out.
Nah.
That is so funny.
Oh gosh, that was such a horrible movie.
I feel like that'd be one of those so bad that it's good movies.
Yeah, I mean, so when I watch it, I laugh the whole time because it's just so stupid. Yeah.
What were you saying?
Just imagine being beaten to death by a soda can. That's humiliating. We were talking about paper cuts in the review.
Well, and especially because all you have to do is just take one step to the side, and that soda machine couldn't, if it could shoot cans at all, would only be able to shoot them straight ahead. So all you got to do is just one step to the side or fall to the ground, right? So I bet apparently those people are stupid enough that they really deserve to be killed by soda machines.
It's Darwin.
It's Darwin.
What is it called when it's the selective? I forget what it is. It has
natural
to
selection.
Yes, natural selection. It's a thing. All right. The second question that Anna Zelia had was, why are animals not affected by the fungus? This is probably for you if there was ever anything that was addressed.
That is a great question. I don't really have a great answer for that. I know in the second game, there is something about a dog and having to fight a dog, but I can't remember whether the dog is infected or not, or if it's just being
Hungry.
violent.
Yeah.
But honestly, I have no idea, because in this last episode, you see monkeys that are, as far as you can tell, uninfected. And in the game later on, you also see horses and wild animals in general that are sheep that are also not infected. I don't know if it's just because the fungus is not interested in those, or, well, I have no idea, actually. Because also in the games, you see other animals that are alive and well, but also in the second game, you see animals that are torn to shreds by
oversight on the part of the writing, I think.
I have no idea.
I do find it interesting. So when the monkeys appear in this last episode, I'm wondering about that question. And then I got thinking that maybe they are experimenting on the monkeys because monkeys are so close to us.
That was what I
left
thought.
that out of the show. They were experimenting on monkeys, and in the game, you actually get a voice recording from one of the scientists that tells you that they went to Salt Lake City. So instead of the map, you get a voice recording from somebody. But in there, it said that he was bitten by one of the monkeys, and then he ended up killing himself after he made the voice recording. So
the monkey was infected and he got bit by the monkey?
Yeah, I think so. And I don't know if he actually got infected because of the monkey biting him, or if he was not risking it.
That's
I don't remember.
That's a terrible thing. Like, if the monkey's not infected, he gets bitten, like, oh no, what a world! I just killed myself. I would hope that the monkey was infected.
So he's with the paper cut guy. How come how'd you die? Well, I got bit by this monkey, and I thought I was infected, and then it wasn't until I got here that I found out that you can't get infected by monkeys.
But yeah, I have no idea if the fungus is interested in animals, if it's even able to cross animal species lines, because we know that it went from ants to humans, but I have no idea if it can go between animals and humans. So.
Okay. So we don't know.
Great question, though.
Great question.
All right. Simply Ordinary asks, will you guys be reviewing Picard Season 3?
Yes.
We are actually going to be recording tonight.
Yes. Probably right after this.
Mm-hmm.
So, you watched it. I've watched it. I enjoyed it. And also, we talk about that on the hogCAST. So if you want to go over to the hogCAST, I have already talked about that. So
link over Randy's head.
Yeah, but really, you want to hear it from us on our channel. So don't go over to the hogCAST on second thought. Stay here. We post it.
He's gonna stop commenting on your videos.
Oh, he loves us. We love Hog. We're all good. We're all good. Now watch all of our videos and then go check out his.
Right.
Finish this one first.
Yeah, you have to have your priorities. All right, next question.
Next question is from Doc Widener. I think that's how you say it. What is Randy's favorite Fallout game? He has some other questions here too, but that was the first one.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to say 3 because of the storytelling. Now, which one do I enjoy playing the most is 4. I enjoy 4, and that's the one I'll pull up every once in a while when I feel like playing Fallout, and I'll play 4. But 3 has such a great start for the storyline. So you wake up and in the doctor's office, and they were burying you. Someone had shot you in the head, and they were burying you, and the doc happened to notice you weren't quite dead yet and saves you, right? So for me, like, that is such an amazing start to a story or a game, right? And you totally get it. I want to go out and I want to find out whoever's responsible for this, and I want to kill them. And so, which I did. And then I killed a lot of other people, and then more people. And
which one is the one with the kid? Where he got old.
That's the fourth. That's the fourth one. Which I didn't like any of the endings that I've seen, and so I have a friend and I used to play on his game, and he'd get really upset with me because I didn't do the quest. You get to the point where there's the guy who raises the kid, right, or raises the whatever,
Yeah,
and he says, "Your son's still alive," and I'm like, "No, oh no, you're a liar! You're a liar! He's not alive!" And so then I shot him and killed him because obviously he was lying. My kid's not alive,
He's
and
dead.
so I play this game under the assumption that my son is dead. He's been dead for 100 years, and I collect toys and I dump them in his room in the house. And my friend, it annoys him to a great extent that I do that. He's like, "No, you know he's alive. You can finish the game." No. He's dead. Let me do my thing.
Let me grieve in peace.
Let me grieve in my own way by putting all these toys in his room. He hates it, and I do it just because he hates it.
You are a sadist.
I'm a bad man.
Stop torturing people. Just let them play the game. All right. So next question is, you're in the writer's room. Oh, it's a scenario. You're in the writer's room, and folks from HBO have said the show is too grim and that Tess, Bill, Henry, or Sam has to survive to episode 6. Which would you pick and why?
Okay, the list of who?
It's Tess, Bill, Henry, or Sam.
Sam.
Why was Frank not in there?
Maybe they didn't
Bill
like
is
Frank.
or maybe because Frank's not in the original game.
Okay.
Okay. I picked Sam, especially for the show, because there's definitely something appealing-wise, innocent-wise about his character. I mean, part of that is because he's mute, and then the other part is because he's young and he has that adorable belief in superheroes and everything. I mean, for me, I can draw so much inspiration from from those personality traits, and I can really do a lot with it moving forward. And of all of them, who deserves the most to live? It's Sam, because he's innocent. He's not part of all the violence and the murdering and everything. So he's the one that I pick.
I agree. He's just, for the same reasons, he's just barely winning out Tess, and I think because the loss of Tess is something that Joel needs to help drive him, especially in the beginning, right after losing her. So I agree with him, just barely beating out Tess.
And would I have killed Tess if I was writing it? Oh yeah, she'd be so dead.
Yeah, you gotta have Ellie.
She'd
and
be
Joel
dead
on
even
it.
faster, actually. He loves killing people off.
Probably. Not in real life. Don't send the police to my house. I mean, in my stories, I like to kill people.
Well,
It is fun.
he's got a autobiography, so if you want to know if he really does like killing people, you can read that.
Don't tease them with that.
I'm plugging your stuff better than you do.
There's no killing in that one.
She did good job plugging. I'm gonna have a little picture of your book.
Okay.
Like the Milkman's Son, folks. Autobiography.
There's no killing. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be able to read where the bodies are, there are no bodies. I'm sorry.
So sorry to have disappointed.
Yeah, I didn't murder anyone. Sorry. If you want to read my memoir, there's just not going to be any killing at all. Just so you know.
Just fun family times.
Yeah.
For me, I probably would have picked Bill, but I would have given him some sort of a handicap. So that way he's a burden. Like, I like the idea of Sam living, because Sam would have increased the danger, because this is yet another helpless person that Doug has to take care of. But if you let Bill live, then Bill and Frank's story would have been more relevant to the whole plot. And that was a big problem that I had with Bill and Frank's story, is that it was just this giant chunk of time taken away from Joel and Ellie, and you never see the two characters interacting with them. So I would have liked to have seen one of them survive, and I think having Bill live would have been great. To have him go on an adventure with them, we get to know him, we see a bond happening maybe between him and Ellie. Like, maybe Ellie is such a little brat, and Bill kind of likes that. I think that would have been sort of funny.
Oh, I so could have run with Bill living. So Bill becomes suicidal because he doesn't want to live, right? But he's promised Frank, I won't kill myself, right? So kind of be like the old Vikings who you had to die in glorious battle, not cowardly battle, glorious battle, attempting your best to
Only
win.
way to get to
And so
Valhalla.
Bill is constantly like, yeah, I can take out that horde of zombies or whatever. And he's constantly putting me in danger. That could be funny.
Joel, I can do it, I promise. No, Bill,
It
we're
could
going.
be funny and add the tension. I could really work with that. That could be really interesting.
How nice would it have been also if his final, like his ending was that he has learned from what Frank taught him, his experience with Frank taught him, and he decides to stay in Jackson Hole. Like, I'm going to start again. That would have been nice. It would have been very happy, bittersweet.
And raise strawberries.
Yeah, raise strawberries. Yeah, they only have sheep.
Yeah,
As far as we know. And potatoes.
And potatoes, sheep and potatoes.
They need some fruit.
They need strawberries to go with that.
We're good?
I hope so.
All right, let's see. So Doc Widener has a second part to his question, which is, which would have been the worst to survive and why? The worst. So Tess, Bill, Henry, or Sam?
I'm going to say Tess. Tess is that motivator. Like Lucy said, he's kind of the she's the firing pin that moves Joel in a direction that he would not have gone otherwise. Mm-hmm. So I think that is, story-wise, the biggest mistake would be able to keep her alive. And that's why I would kill her, not because I really like killing characters, but because it has significance. It has impact on Joel personally. And we can see the motivation for Joel deriving from this. So for me, that would have been the biggest mistake, to keep her alive.
And plus, she's very capable. I mean, she does need protection from Joel, but we've seen that she's a capable person, and that would have meant that Joel's responsibility was a little bit lightened because he had a partner who he knows can help him in some areas that, Ellie couldn't. So
I agree.
Okay.
Ditto.
The next one is from our friend Space Lizard over on the hogCAST. He joins us from over yonder.
Across the pond, as they say.
From the station in orbit.
It's a bigger pond than I thought.
It's a very big pond. I've been told the second game wasn't so well received. If you were doing season 2 of The Last of Us, do you stay loyal to the game or try to fix the story or deviate from the story completely?
Oh, that is a prickly question.
Mm-hmm.
If you deviate, you are going to really tick off the gamers. So even if they didn't like the game, they're going to be mad at you because you didn't stay with the game, even though they thought it was a mistake. Now, me as a writer, not playing the game, I would say learn from the mistakes and write something more that works better, right? And I don't know, maybe that might be the strategy, because maybe those disaffected gamers see this and they're like, yeah, see, that's how the game should have been. But it's a tough call. I mean, you're definitely going to get some of the gamers that if you change it, no matter how bad the game was, they're going to be upset. And then I think you'll get some that are going to like improvements. I just don't know where that balance is. I mean, we're more, if which side of that is going to draw in more support. Would I do it? I would change things.
So the second game was insanely controversial because they killed off a character that was very well liked. And then they had, slight spoiler, I'm not giving names or anything, but slight spoiler. And then they make you play as that person who killed that character for half of the game.
Ew.
So, okay. I didn't really like the second game. I'm giving it a second chance, though, because I think I was just overly emotional and grieving when I watched it the first time.
Now that we've dissected all the characters so much, just a big mess on the table, you can okay, maybe I'm not as attached.
Okay, so I saw somebody describe it this way, and it's the best description of the second game that I've ever seen, or so far. So they described it as a Greek tragedy, and that is the best description for the second game I have ever seen. So it is, what's that? The Greek seer who like had visions and stuff, but nobody believed her.
The Oracle?
No. What's her name? Whatever, it doesn't matter.
We'll insert
Whoever,
the name.
Yeah, so that person, they were saying that the second game is a Greek tragedy. Nobody in this game is better off at the end of the game than they were at the beginning. And you might be, and we are that seer that nobody believed. We were the prophet that nobody believed. We said bad things were going to happen, and none of the characters listened, and everything bad happened. But the thing is, they were intentionally doing this. The way they did this game was very well done. It just pissed people off. They did it well, though.
So this was an attempt at an experimental ending. I actually really enjoy those kinds of things where they're trying to not give a message so much as they have a goal, like what you're saying, like that this will all lead to a worse place, and we should have known. But we were kind of walking through this whole process, seeing the collapse. I think at some point, I believe that it was described as the demonic hero in storytelling. That's what it's called, demonic hero. It's sort of like an anti-hero, except it's a hero who we watch fall. We see somebody who we like or who we want to succeed in some way, and everything they're doing is crumbling their own empire slowly until at the end they lead to their own destruction and everybody else's destruction along the way. So I think I like that, but it might not be appropriate for a bunch of young people who just want to, play games with their favorite characters.
See, I love happy endings.
Cassandra.
Right? Cassandra. That's it. So,
sounds like a contemporary name. That's probably why it was lost. You were looking for where's the Arapides or Badidibes, that's that ending of the name.
So yeah, I enjoy happy endings, but if you like tragedies, you're gonna love the second game.
Me?
You like making people suffer.
I like writing.
Everybody
sad.
in that game suffers.
I like writing sad stuff, but I don't like watching it.
Yeah, I think as long as at the end you can see that there was something about it that was like everybody learned from their experience or something like that, then. But it sounds like that's not really what happens.
No, nobody learned.
Then I don't know about that.
Okay, are we going to go back about the question on Kathleen?
Yes. So Johnny Gadfly asks, what would you add or remove to make Kathleen overall better?
And we talked about it earlier in this video. So the things I would add is and this is a point that you bring up often, Amber, that I would give her, I would talk about how she helped overthrow the previous regime. Right? Some plan, some whatever, right? Maybe she had access to something within the city and finally agreed to unleash it on whatever. I mean, she devised a trap and unleashed it and killed most of them. And then they were able to overpower the remaining. So that, to make it believable that they have a reason to follow her in the first place. And then secondary, I'd add that trait, right? Where we see that manipulation and we see why she continues to remain in charge, even though these are tough guys and she's like a soccer mom. So that's what I would do. And I know that I could write that in a way that would be believable and you'd be like, oh, I hate her. But it would be like that thing where you love that you hate that person because they're so
an
horrible.
Actually good villain
a
instead
really
of
good
just
villain.
A bad villain.
Yeah. Miss Trunchbull.
Yeah. Exactly.
Dolores Umbridge.
There's
some good ones in there.
My goodness, yes.
I think I've done the same thing, and you don't actually have to say what the plan was. You don't have to inform the audience what the plan was. Just that everybody acknowledges that she came up with something really brilliant, and it's the reason why they were able to win. That would be a convincing reason for all of them to follow her initially. And for me, I would have actually kept her as a bad leader, but I would have had everybody around her starting to question her and she's losing control. And then by the very end, she's like, we've got him. And that's everybody's like, okay, you know what? We've been, 12 days looking for this guy. Let's go and get him. And they follow her one last time, but it's like, you guys should have jumped ship a lot sooner because you're all dead now. I think that would have been a good way to do it too. So lots of different routes. But I think we all agree that something had to be proven. Like, why are these people following her? How about you? Any ideas?
No.
Not too much?
That's more of a writing idea. That's a writing question for them.
You would have taken her out with a sniper from the roof, right? You're like, we'll just kill her. That's the quick solution. That would make her better. She's not there anymore.
That's not how you hold a rifle. Don't worry about it.
Okay, so then we've got TJK asks, was Tess conscious during the kiss but not in control of her body? I can't imagine a scarier death. Also, why not shoot the rifle tip close to the gasoline? The fire from the barrel could have ignited the explosion, and in that moment, I'd go for the fastest, most reliable solution. I gotta say,
all right, when I'm watching it, that's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm like, just shoot the gun so that the spark from the gun ignites the gas. Or take the lighter, and even though it's not lighting, it's still generating sparks.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a couple of ways to do that. So that was a clumsy scene, and I didn't care for it. I'm sure that they were going for a gross out factor, intention. Like, oh my goodness, it's not. And it's such an old trope, right? I'm going to light something and I can't get the lighter to start. That's overused. And I think I would have preferred that they didn't go that route.
I have a professor, or had a professor, who described this scene as, hang in there, let me explain. He described this sort of thing as pornography. It is something that is only there to give you a physical reaction, to make you go, ugh, gross, or to make you go, I can't look, or to make you go like, oh, dang, I'm feeling a little hot here. It's only there for that. It has nothing to do with what's going on in the story, or it doesn't fit in some way. And this didn't fit. Why would she just stand there? Okay,
so this is what I think I would do with it, right? So we know she's on that verge of moving over to the fungus side, right? I would show that struggle. I mean, like, she's concentrating on that, and you can tell she's like shaking. She wants to, but a good actress is going to be able to pull that off. And we know that what she's struggling with is that's taking over at the last moment. That builds real tension. It deals with the story. It deals with the situation, right? And it comes up that the infected comes up for that kiss, and we get a slight sneer of revulsion, and she flips that lighter and drops it. Oh, wow. You know what? All of a sudden, that scene is so much more powerful and makes sense. And it accomplishes everything that I'm assuming that they wanted to accomplish with that scene.
Yeah. They missed something. There was something that they were missing, because I think everybody reacted the same way to that. It just wasn't working. No one understood why she did that. Did you like it?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Okay.
The guy did look really cool. I had to pause it a few times when I was editing, and I was like, yeah, Lucy's right. The guy's outfit or his makeup is really awesome.
It was so cool.
It was good.
As for if they're conscious, I said previously that they're not conscious after the infection takes over, but I've seen some stuff recently and I have changed my stance. I'm pretty sure they are conscious.
After they're infected, they're still conscious?
They're infected.
Oh.
So if in the game, obviously if you're listening to runners and everything, and before the runners, you don't hear this in the show, because the only time you see runners is when they're chasing after you and are already alerted. But in the game, when you're playing and you're walking through infected areas, you can hear runners just like sobbing and like crying, and you can hear them. I don't know if there's like actual dialogue lines, but I think for some of the runners there are dialogue lines of them saying like mommy or something.
Ooh.
So the original Dawn of the Dead, so we're probably talking late 70s, right? One of the interesting thing is they're held up in a mall, right? And one of the characters asks, why do they come to the mall? And there was that sense that there's a residual part of the person in there, and they went to the mall because that was a place that was important to them. So I think that sounds cool. I mean, I like that part of Dawn of the Dead. And that sounds like they're playing off of that kind of idea. So
that also plays into when Sam asked, do you think they're still in there after they're infected?
That's what I was thinking.
And slight spoiler. No, actually, you know what? Never mind. Never mind.
She's saving
Never
it.
mind. It's not a slight spoiler. It's a big spoiler, so I'm not going to say it.
You're so kind not to give spoilers.
I'm trying so hard. So his worst fear ended up coming true, because his biggest fear was being infected and still being inside there, stuck, and then that happened.
Oh.
I mean, it wasn't for very long, but it happened.
Yeah, it's scary. I would play off of that a lot more.
Yeah.
But they're doing a good job with the show.
Yeah, but I do think that they have some things that they've introduced, but still haven't played with as much as they could have, and this is one of those things.
Some missed opportunities, yeah.
Next question is, would you two consider analyzing Babylon 5 or The Expanse? I'd be interested to hear your opinion on storytelling of these two shows and how you think they compare to other sci-fi. And for some reason, I didn't print out the name of the person, but it's right there. So that person sent us this question. So what do you guys think? What do you think, Randy? Babylon 5 or The Expanse?
I would be happy to do both. So I will say that I started watching the episode 1 of The Expanse. And I'll be ready probably next week to comment on it. So far, it's interesting, and I'll just say this as like a precursor for it. I love the world building in here, and for me, it kind of feels like Shadowrun, the role playing game Shadowrun in space. They have all the bionic implements, the cyber stuff, and everything, and the way they talk and their attitudes, and everything, and I love Shadowrun, so I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah, I have to say that for me, the world building is so wonderful, and they showcase it right away. Immediately, you understand that they have really paid attention a lot to the way that the environment affects the cultures and the physical attributes of the people. So I like that a lot. I'm not usually into like mysteries, noir, and you kind of have a little bit of that in this as well. But there was enough other stuff in it that I was fully engaged. So I think it's great. I think we'll probably do something, maybe if not episodic, at least.
Well, at least episode 1. Then I'm also going to point out that Kaz Anvar, who is the pilot, he voices my villain in my first episode of Kicks Comics, which will be on YouTube as well as being a print comic. So he plays the villain in that. So I gotta like the show for that reason. I gotta support my buddy.
Yeah. So go to I don't know if I have enough room to put so many things above people's heads, but I'll try to put a link up there. If not, it'll be in the description to get to Randy's other channel about Kicks Comics. It's a comic that he wrote, and it's going to be a pretty awesome production.
Superheroes.
It's about superheroes, and it's not what you think.
Yeah, because I don't think like other people.
No, he doesn't.
So
He's just running around killing everybody.
You can expect whatever I write is not going to be what you expect.
Okay, so the next question comes from Rayek, and you've got a little bit of a chunk of other stuff in there, but I'm just going to read your questions. You said, question for Lucy. How is the pacing so far compared to the game? Do we expect that in 4 more episodes they can wrap up the entire first game?
Yes. So I've already mapped out what I think the last episodes are going to be. So I think we're going to have 1 episode that is the flashback about Ellie getting infected with her friend, and 1 where they go against the cannibal raiders, and then the ending.
I was going to say I'm expecting a flashback. I know in our regular review of this, I wasn't very good on what I'm expecting ahead, but talking about that reminds me, I think we are going to get a flashback. And if I'm writing, this next episode's a flashback, not the cannibal raiders, because you would combine that whole Ellie worried about Joel, and of course you know what's going to happen with Joel and how he's going to be
I sure do.
saved, because I don't think this is where he dies. That's a really good time for a flashback, right? Because she's kind of there, and you don't want to spend a ton of time watching her drag a body or have the horse drag the body and, sitting there not able to do anything. So those tend to be places where flashbacks are good because you're going to have a slow pacing on part of it while he's healing, and then you can supplement that with something more exciting that's happened in the past. So that's my thought. And Lucy has not told me, so I'm going to guess next episode is a flashback.
Mm-hmm. And also, technically, the flashback where she gets infected with her friend is they made into like a small like minigame kind of. Still fully like fleshed out, just like the regular game. I would call it like a DLC, but I don't know. Anyway, but so I already know that story as well. And I've seen shots and stuff from the set. Our dog is being
silly.
Sorry.
The dog is being very silly right now.
So
what is going on in those little brains?
So where was I?
You know the story.
Minigame.
Yeah, so I already know that story. So, and I've seen shots from like the set. So I know they are filming. At least I don't know if it's gonna take up a whole episode. I mean, it should. They made plenty of gameplay for that, for a full episode. But I know it will be coming. I just don't know if it's next episode or an episode after.
Okay. Do we have any more questions?
Oh, but as far as the pacing of the show goes, it's so far pretty accurate. Obviously in the game you have gameplay that extends it. And in this you get mainly like the cutscenes. So this is mainly the cutscenes from the game, obviously with alterations and little extra stuff, but you don't get a whole lot of like the gameplay brought into the on screen. So at like the combat you don't really get as much of. Have gotten some combat. We've gotten some combat, but obviously not as much as I want.
Okay. So the next question from the same person is for you and me, Randy.
Okay.
It says, I believe I recall hearing that you two have been friends for some time, but how did you meet and what inspired you to make this channel? Love watching your reviews. As always, looking forward to the rest of The Last of Us. I'm going to shut the door that the doggy just opened.
Okay. So we've been friends about 20 years, I think. We met in college, oddly enough. And yeah, I'm quite a bit older than Amber, so I was attending college later in life, and Amber was attending as a young, appropriately aged for college student. And we took a creative writing class together, and things just meshed. We get along, and we formed a critique group with several of the other students. And even though I'm not friends with most of those, I mean, we're still on good terms. I just don't see them anymore. Amber and we just kind of stayed together as friends. And the reason we've done this show is, well, we want to start teaching about writing. And so this, we felt, would be a good way to introduce our skills as experts on writing, so that once we start doing, which should be in the next week or so, the audience will already see that when we talk about writing, we know what we're talking about, and then they'll be more inclined to listen to us on the other stuff, right? I mean, I think that's why we did it, right?
Yeah, and also we're just both obsessed with storytelling and everything that goes into how to craft a story. I could talk about it all day, every day with anybody, and so this is kind of a way to get that out of our system. So I'm not doing that to, other people randomly. The lady at the grocery store.
And I teach classes locally and at some of the writing conferences and stuff. And I love to do that. And then it's hard to get me out of the classroom because people come up afterwards and they talk. And like Amber, I just love talking about writing. So this is something we love. And so why not, put it on YouTube? And hopefully people are getting some benefit out of it.
Yeah, we'll hope that you guys will check out our classes when they get up. Okay, so the next one is from Flying Summer. I think that's their name. Question 1 is, they have made changes to Joel's character compared to the game. By my observation, they made TV Joel more gentle and more considerate, especially towards Ellie, from a fairly early stage in their relationship. What do you think about this change?
Do you want to address that first?
So I like both Joels very much. I think I might like the TV show Joel just the teeniest bit more because I get frustrated with Joel. I've seen the story play out so many times, but every single time I'm like, Joel, you're so stubborn. Just tell her already, even though it's not gonna make it happen any quicker. But I think I like TV show Joel just the teeniest bit better. But don't tell Troy Baker. That's the actor, by the way.
And do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts. The first is that he probably is more likable in the show, being gentler and less brusque. But as a writer, to make the storytelling more effective, I would have actually kept him as being a little more abrasive in the beginning. And then I would have shown that he changes into the kind of character that we want to see, the gentler, more compassionate and loving at the end. Because it's very satisfying to watch a character go through, basically be thrown into the crucible and come out beautiful at the other end. And the more polar opposite these two personalities are, the more dramatic that change is. Now, it has to be believable, so you couldn't make too dramatic of a change that we're like, yeah, no one would ever change that much. But if you've already started him out being kind of gentle and compassionate, it means that if he ends up just a little bit more gentle and compassionate, that's not a very big change. I lost the camera there for a second, but basically what I was saying is that if he started out more like Bill, just hating the world and everybody and just cold to everyone and brutal, and then he turns into somebody in a believable way that is compassionate and gentle, especially with just Ellie, that would have been so beautiful to see. It would feel like you're going on a journey. So that's what I would have done.
All right, and I have a different approach on this question. I have written screenplay versions of a couple of my books. All right, and the thing about this is they're very different beasts. They are very different mediums, and a game is going to be a very different medium. So in a series or a movie, we really kind of need to like, and I've addressed this before in the past, and by like, I don't mean they have to be nice people and friendly. What I mean is they have to be interesting. We have to like them to a point where, because they're interesting, we want to see what happens, and that we can tolerate them. If you want to see an example of how characters aren't likable, watch Velma, because pretty much everyone other than Norbert
terrible. They're
are
awful.
terrible. Right. So that's how not to do it. So in a film or a series, you want the characters to be more likable so that audiences will stay tuned and will watch and be hooked by the story. Now with a game, you've already plopped down money. You're in there. The gamers are going to be a lot less caring if a character's nice or not nice. They're going to play that game because their purpose... Shoot bad guys, right? That's the point. And the game, the storyline in the game is kind of secondary to that. So there's very different motivations for your two audiences, and you can get away with meaner characters in games than you can with series. In series, you just will lose a lot of your audience if they don't find something interesting and redeemable about those characters. So that's my take on it.
Got anything on this one? Wait, you
already spoke.
That's right, you got the first bit. Okay, so here's a second part. Flying Summer has a second part to this question. It is, more specifically, how do you think this may affect the storytelling? So I think I kind of answered that in my bit. But how about you guys? Anything to add to that?
It affects it affects it a little bit, just because, like I said, in the game, he's more stubborn and is even less sharing with his feelings than he is in the show. So in the show, you get more from him. But overall, it doesn't change the overall storytelling all that much. You still get the same end result. It doesn't affect it all that much, but yeah.
Well, and I would just kind of go back to what I was already saying. They are different mediums, and storytelling works differently depending on the medium. And so you have to be cognizant of those mediums and what works and what doesn't work. What works for the game, you need to do storytelling that's appropriate for a game. And for a series, you need to do storytelling that's appropriate for a series or a movie.
Yeah, I think there's a very popular writer right now, Brandon Sanderson, who has been in the process of adapting his novels into screenplays. And he talks on his channel a lot about the process where you have to do so much with a screenplay with so little, but you do have the added element of having music and you have visuals. And so he's talking about how he's combining characters and combining scenes and things. Can I accomplish the same thing with less is the goal? Can I do the same thing with less in some way or by rearranging things in some way? So it's totally different animal. And it's absolutely, anybody who gets upset about a movie not being exactly like the book they read, or I guess like the game that they played, I challenge you to make it exact. I mean, even everybody talks about Lord of the Rings was a great adaptation. They changed a lot and took out a lot. Holes was a really good adaptation. Is it pretty, like, they didn't leave a whole lot out or anything?
Yeah, like it was pretty accurate. Lots of quotes from the book as well.
Nice. So. Yeah, I'm sure that they came across challenges as well because, a script is much shorter than a book. Much shorter.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to imagine how long it takes you to read a book. So I'm reading a book right now that takes 32 hours for a narrator to read it. And I don't think anybody's willing to sit there for even 10 hours and watch one movie. And that's not even a third of one.
Well, depends on the movie.
I guess. Oh my gosh. The Marvel movies are getting longer and longer, it feels like. But oh my goodness. Anyway. We're going to go on to the next bit. So this person has a second question. Okay, I'm going to summarize all of that because I just read the whole thing out to Randy and Lucy and it was pretty long. But basically what they're wondering is, would we be interested in doing like an in-depth review of The Last of Us Part 2, the second one, the game, so before the series comes out, and just to look at it from the position of a writer and an editor.
That is interesting. I don't know that anyone does story review, right? I mean, looking at the game review from purely a story point of view, that would be really interesting. And I don't know, maybe it might spark the industry to focus more on storytelling. And we talked about, we answered a question earlier about which of the Fallout games I like the best. And I said 3 because of the storytelling. And for me, that's where the games are at. I mean, if you can give me a really great story, that's what I love. Yeah, sure, shooting people's fun and everything, but the story is what really endears me to the game. So that might be interesting. I think I would definitely be willing to do it for at least one of those, and maybe hope that someone else might pick that up as their shtick, their spiel that they do in the industry. So if any of you out there are thinking about becoming a YouTuber, I think that's an opening that's not being covered. I think we're doing pretty good on let's look at things from a very writer and editor and gamer point of view all together, looking for story. But I think there's a room in the market for that. So if any of you are thinking about becoming a YouTuber, that's a possibility.
Yeah, so this guy or girl is wondering if we would do it. And I mean, I'd be interested if I could watch the gameplay like as if it was a movie.
Oh yeah.
But I don't play video games.
There's for sure. I know there's compilation. Well,
I know that there's videos with the gameplay.
Yeah.
So I would be willing to do an episode, a video where we do at least part of it. I'm not sure that I want to watch 20 hours of gameplay.
No, I definitely don't want to do that. Oh my gosh, is it that long? We have to watch 20 hours?
I don't know.
If it can be cut down to something real short, I'll do that.
Basically, what people will do is they will cut it to just the cutscenes.
Okay.
And then just make it a movie. So for the full Last of Us 2 cutscenes, it's 4 hours, 45 minutes.
And that's part 1 and 2, or just
2?
Just part 2. Okay, that's not too bad. I can sit through 4 hours. I mean, as long as I didn't do it in one sitting.
This one says 11 hours. Why is it?
I sat through Lord of the Rings.
Why is
the
it
extended
2 different
edition.
times?
I think we'd be willing to look into that and maybe come up with something. Because it's all about story. One of our earlier questions: how do we meet, and why are we still hanging out, and why are we doing this? We love story. And so that would be an interesting exercise in looking at and understanding story.
Maybe right before because season 2 has been already given the green light, right? for The Last of Us.
I believe so.
I think it has. So maybe closer...
I would be surprised if it didn't. It's doing insanely well.
Yeah, I think a good time to do that would be close to the release of season 2, like the premiere of season 2. So if we do it, we'll do it closer to then, I think, instead of immediately following The Last of Us as a show.
Kind of like what we did with
Last
Willow.
is
We reviewed the movie again, even though it's a favorite and we've seen it many times. We did a review on Willow the movie, and then we did the series. So that sounds like... So figure that we will do that. We'll consider that like the movie prequel to the second... Not prequel, but, you know, the movie version, and then we'll watch the series version.
Yeah.
And we'll do that.
It'll be fun because then we'll all three of us know what happened in the game, and we'll be able to judge if we think they did it better or worse in the movie.
Sounds good.
All right, that is it for questions and comments. If we didn't get to your question, maybe you uploaded it while we were in the middle of this, but I checked about 10 minutes ago. Well, 10 minutes before we started filming this. I think this has been a longer than 10-minute video. But I didn't see anybody else new, so I hope that we got to everybody's questions satisfactorily. And
of course, you're welcome to drop some questions on this video, and we'll answer those in the comments section.
Yep. And we really get back to just about all our commenters, I think. And since there's 2 of us, it very likely you're going to get a good, a full response and not just like a thumbs up or anything like that. Like, yay, we like your comment. But we do like comments. So please comment, please subscribe, and check us out next time. All right.
Okay.
Later.
Bye-bye.